want to bring in NewsNation national security contributor Tracy Walder, a former FBI special agent and CIA officer, and Evan Kohlmann, an international terrorism expert and former FBI and DOJ official who has spent decades tracking al-Qaeda and other terrorist organizations. Tracy, let's start with you on this. How worried should Americans be when they go out to enjoy these fireworks tomorrow night?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Kelly. Listen, I think that we should always have our guard up whenever we are in a situation like this. However, we cannot let it preclude us from living our daily lives and from enjoying things like the 4th of July. The reality is the threats are already here. They already exist. And really, any large event is always going to be a target. Even before al-Qaeda, they were always a target. And so I think we just need to remember to be alert and to be vigilant, but not to let this fear paralyze us from enjoying these events.
Okay. Well, I wanted to switch over to Evan as well. The recent events in Iran, how does that add to this risk here as well, would you say?
Sure. I mean, there's been a lot of focus, I think, on threats coming from Iran, but I really do think it's misdirected, and I think DHS has a point here. If you look at Iran, Iran has a number of different ways of sort of exercising power, and we have seen some cyber attacks and some cyber events in recent days that are attributed to Iran or Iranian entities. But if Iran was really looking to carry out a terrorist attack, they'd have to use either the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is in pieces right now because it was beaten to shreds by the Israelis, Hamas, which has also been beaten to shreds by the Israelis, and Hezbollah, which has been beaten to shreds by the Israelis. The Iranians don't really have a lot of good options to reach inside the United States right now, at least in terms of terrorism. And then the other question is, do they really want to provoke a reaction from either the United States or Israel right now? They're completely undefended. They have no air defense. It's not a good idea. I don't think you're going to see that, but I think DHS is right. There are lone wolf actors out there right now that have no connections to Iran and probably no connections to Hamas or anyone else, but they are incensed. They're angry by what they see on TV, by what they see on the internet, and they are motivated to take action. And it's exactly what you saw in Las Vegas. It's exactly what you saw in New Orleans. These are individuals who are able to cause mayhem all on their own. And the problem is that it doesn't take a PhD to murder somebody. And these people, they're not trying to kill millions of people at once, and they don't have to. Even killing a handful of people gets the headlines that they're looking for, and that's the problem.
Tracy, I want to go back to you and ask you something about the threat at the border. We were talking about there the 35 Iranian nationals that say they were wanting to cross the border sometime during the July 4th weekend. What about the threat there at the border, would you say?
Listen, there's always been a threat at the border. It's always been porous. And we do know that different terrorist organizations, namely really Hezbollah, actually that's obviously controlled by Iran and other countries as well, really has made inroads through the drug cartel routes. That's primarily what they use. So it's not surprising. I'm sure some have already crossed into this border. But to Evan's point, I do think the individuals that are going to perpetrate these kinds of attacks are individuals that are already here, that aren't really reacting at the behest of the Iranian government. They haven't really issued a fatwa or anything like that. These are individuals that are inspired by. So yes, it's concerning that these individuals are basically giving us a warning that they're crossing the border. Some may already have, but I think individuals are already here.
And Evan, I want to toss it back to you quickly on this other topic, still in line with Iran, but I was talking with sources today. They say Iran is agreeing to another round of nuclear talks, even following the strikes from the U.S. on nuclear facilities. Can we take them at their word?
Well, look, I think we have to be very careful. We still have to figure out exactly how much damage was done to the facilities and whether or not the sensitive material was evacuated there long before the attack took place, right? The Iranians clearly are going to try to have a nuclear program. They have shown that over the past 2 decades. They're not going to quit this, right? They're going to just try to dig it further and further underground. But yeah, sure, they'd love to negotiate with us right now because they have no choice. Again, they have no air defense. They are not capable of waging a conflict against anyone, Israel, the U.S., against anyone. They ran through a lot of their ballistic missile stockpile. At this point, negotiations are in their best interest, even if they are not genuine. So the question is, who's in charge right now there? And whether or not they're really going to push towards this, I doubt it. The Iranians know that this is their trump card, the same as the North Koreans. This is their trump card. This is what gives them power. If they give up the nuclear arms program, they're basically, they can become another Libya at any time. They can become another Muammar Gaddafi at any time. And that's what these folks are looking at, and what happened in Libya.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.